What would you do if, just an hour before saying "I do," you discovered that the man you love and your best friend, the maid of honor, were betraying you? And to make it worse, you're 5 months pregnant with his child. This story will surprise you at every turn, because what the bride did next changed everything. The morning light filtered through the gossamer curtains of the Grand Harborview Hotel's bridal suite, casting a golden glow across Sophia Matthews' face as she stood before the floor-length mirror. Her reflection, radiant in a custom-designed silk gown that elegantly accommodated her 5-month baby bump, stared back with bright eyes full of hope and anticipation. She gently placed her hand on her rounded stomach, feeling a flutter of movement beneath her palm. "There you are, little one," she whispered. "Today's the day Mommy becomes Mrs. Campbell." The words tasted sweet on her tongue, like a promise finally fulfilled. At 32, Sophia had built her life around caring for others. As a pediatric nurse at Boston Children's Hospital, she developed a reputation for her extraordinary empathy, her ability to comfort both frightened children and their anxious parents. Today, surrounded by imported flowers and champagne flutes, she allowed herself to be the center of attention. A knock at the door broke her reverie. "Come in," Sophia called, turning from the mirror. Ariana Lloyd breezed into the room, already dressed in her maid of honor gown, a floor-length silk in deep emerald that complemented her auburn hair. She carried 2 mimosas, orange juice only in Sophia's glass. "To my best friend," Ariana said, her smile wide as she handed Sophia a glass. "The most beautiful bride Boston has ever seen." Sophia accepted the drink, noticing the slight tremble in Ariana's hand. "Everything okay, Ari?" "Just wedding jitters by proxy," Ariana laughed, though the sound didn't quite reach her eyes. She glanced down at her phone, quickly darkening the screen when Sophia leaned forward. "Besides, shouldn't I be asking you that? You're the one getting married in—" She checked her diamond-studded watch. Exactly 2 hours and 17 minutes. Sophia sipped her juice. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life." She meant it. After 3 years with Jaden Campbell, she knew he was everything she'd ever wanted. Ambitious, charming, and seemingly devoted to her and their future child. The door opened again, and Benjamin Matthews entered, stopping short at the sight of his daughter. "Sunshine," he breathed, his weathered face softening. At 64, Benjamin still stood tall and straight, his silver hair the only concession to age. "You look just like your mother." Sophia crossed to her father, taking his hands in hers. "Tell me about her again, Dad. What would she say today?" Benjamin's eyes misted over. "Eleanor would say what I'm saying, that you deserve every happiness this world can give you." He cupped Sophia's cheek. "She'd be so proud of the woman you've become." Sophia had been only 7 when her mother died of breast cancer, leaving Benjamin to raise their daughter alone. He'd never remarried, pouring all his love and attention into Sophia. Their bond had grown unbreakably strong through the years, through Sophia's academic achievements, nursing school, and now her journey into marriage and motherhood. "I wouldn't be here without you, Dad," Sophia said, squeezing his hands. "Don't sell yourself short, Sunshine. You've earned everything you have through your own hard work and that enormous heart of yours." Benjamin glanced at Ariana, who was texting rapidly on her phone. "Though I must say, you've had some good people in your corner too." Ariana looked up, pocketing her phone with uncharacteristic haste. "Sorry, work emergency. The Johnson account is threatening to pull out." As owner of a boutique marketing firm, Ariana was accustomed to client crises, though Sophia found it odd she'd be handling one today of all days. "On Sophia's wedding day?" Benjamin asked, one eyebrow raised. "It's fine," Sophia assured them both, ever the peacemaker. "Ari, handle whatever you need to. Just be back for the final makeup checks, okay?" Ariana nodded gratefully, already backing toward the door. 30 minutes tops, I promise." She disappeared into the hallway, the click of her heels fading rapidly. Benjamin watched her go with narrowed eyes. "That girl's acting stranger than usual today." "Dad," Sophia chided gently, "she's under a lot of pressure. Not everyone has your unshakable calm." "Not strange, distracted," Benjamin clarified. "Like her mind is somewhere else entirely." Sophia turned back to the mirror, adjusting the delicate pearl hairpiece her father had given her that morning. Something old, something new. "Hey, it's a big day for everyone, not just me. Ariana and I have been best friends since freshman year at Boston University. She introduced me to Jaden, remember?" Benjamin nodded, though his expression remained thoughtful. "I remember. At that charity gala for the children's ward. Sophia smiled at the memory. She'd been volunteering at the annual fundraiser, managing the silent auction table when Ariana had appeared with Jaden in tow. "This is the guy I've been telling you about," Ariana had said. Jaden Campbell, rising star at Morgan Stanley, and more importantly, single. From that first meeting, Jaden had pursued Sophia with a focused intensity that left her breathless. Flowers appeared at her apartment, followed by dinners at exclusive restaurants. Within 6 months, they were inseparable. When Sophia discovered she was pregnant, an unexpected but not unwelcome surprise, Jaden had proposed immediately, presenting her with a 3-carat diamond ring that still felt heavy on her finger. "What are you thinking about?" Benjamin asked, watching his daughter's reflection. "How lucky I am," Sophia replied. "To have found Jaden, to be having this baby, to have you and Ariana by my side." She turned to face her father. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong." "Does that sound crazy?" Benjamin's expression softened. "It sounds human, sunshine. Good things can be the hardest to trust sometimes." A soft knock interrupted them. "Ms. Matthews?" A voice called from the hallway. "Room service." Benjamin opened the door to reveal a young man in hotel livery, balancing a covered tray. "I didn't order anything," Sophia said, confused. "Compliments of the wedding planner, ma'am," the server explained, stepping inside to set the tray on a side table. As he straightened, his eyes met Sophia's, and something in his expression, a mixture of discomfort and sympathy, made her stomach clench. "Is everything all right?" she asked. The server, Michael according to his name tag, glanced briefly toward the door before leaning slightly closer. "There's an envelope under the dome, ma'am," he said quietly. "I think you should read it, privately." Benjamin stepped forward protectively. "What is this about, young man?" Michael swallowed hard. "I'm just the messenger, sir. But if it were my sister getting married today, I'd want her to know." With that cryptic statement, he backed toward the door. "Congratulations on your wedding, Ms. Matthews." The door closed behind him with a soft click. Sophia and Benjamin exchanged glances before she moved to the tray, lifting the silver dome. Beneath it lay a sealed envelope, her name written across it in unfamiliar handwriting. With trembling fingers, Sophia picked it up. "You don't have to open that," Benjamin said, his voice low with concern. "Not today, whatever it is can wait." Sophia stared at the envelope, a cold weight settling in her chest. "No, Dad, I don't think it can." She slid her finger beneath the seal, tearing it open. Inside was a single sheet of hotel stationery and a small USB drive. The note was brief. "Ms. Matthews, I apologize for the intrusion on your wedding day, but I believe you should know what's happening behind your back. Your fiancé and maid of honor are currently in the men's bathroom on the mezzanine level. This isn't the first time. The USB contains security footage from the hotel bar last night. I'll be on duty until 3 p.m. if you need anything. Michael Torres, security." Sophia read the note twice, her vision blurring. The words seemed to float off the page, refusing to arrange themselves into any meaning her brain could accept. Jaden and Ariana. It wasn't possible. Ariana had been her best friend for 15 years. She'd introduced Sophia to Jaden. She was going to be the godmother to their child. "Sophia?" Benjamin's voice seemed to come from very far away. "What is it?" She handed him the note wordlessly, then sank onto the edge of the bed, her legs suddenly unable to support her weight. The baby kicked sharply, as if sensing her distress. Benjamin's face darkened as he read, "That lying son of a..." He cut himself off, taking a deep breath. "Sunshine, this could be a mistake, or someone trying to cause trouble." Sophia shook her head slowly, pieces falling into place with devastating clarity. Ariana's nervous energy this morning, the secretive text messages, the way she'd been working late so often in recent months, cancelling their regular coffee dates, even the strange evaluating look Ariana sometimes gave Sophia's growing belly when she thought Sophia wasn't watching. "I need to see for myself," Sophia said, rising with a newfound steadiness. She slipped the USB into her robe pocket and moved toward the door. "You can't go wandering around the hotel in your wedding dress," Benjamin protested. Sophia paused, her hand on the doorknob. Her reflection in the mirror opposite showed a woman transformed, still in her wedding finery, but with something altered in her eyes. The trusting softness had hardened into determination. "You're right," she said quietly. "Help me change, Dad. I need to find out what's happening before I walk down that aisle." As Benjamin helped her out of the gown and into a simple dress that accommodated her pregnancy, Sophia's mind raced through possibilities and denials. But deep down, in a place she rarely acknowledged, a small voice whispered that she had always sensed something wasn't quite right. Moments when Jaden's attentiveness seemed rehearsed, times when Ariana looked at her with what Sophia had interpreted as envy, but now recognized as guilt. 10 minutes later, dressed in a loose summer dress with her hair pinned up under a wide-brimmed hat, Sophia stepped into the elevator alone. Benjamin had wanted to accompany her, but she'd insisted on doing this by herself. "If it's nothing, I don't want you to have seen me doubt him," she'd explained. "And if it's something, I need to face it on my own terms." As the elevator descended to the mezzanine level, Sophia pressed her hand against her stomach, feeling the reassuring movement of her child. Whatever happened next, she wasn't truly alone anymore. She straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. The elevator doors slid open, revealing the ornate hallway of the Grand Harborview's mezzanine level. The men's restroom was at the far end, past the grand staircase that in 2 hours' time Sophia was meant to descend as a bride. With each step, her heartbeat seemed to grow louder in her ears. 20 feet from the restroom door, she heard it, Ariana's distinctive laugh, followed by a deeper murmur that could only belong to Jaden. Sophia froze, her breath catching in her throat. A hotel employee rounded the corner, nodding politely as he passed. His presence snapped Sophia back to herself. She couldn't stand here in the hallway risking discovery. Moving as quietly as possible in her flat sandals, she approached the bathroom door, which was slightly ajar. Through the narrow opening she could see the edge of a sink and a slice of mirror reflection. "Getting cold feet?" Ariana's voice drifted out, teasing and intimate in a way that sent ice through Sophia's veins. "About the wedding, please?" Jaden's voice was dismissive. "It's all part of the plan, babe. Once we're married, I'll have access to Benjamin's connections. The old man practically runs half the hospital boards in New England." "And what about the baby complication?" Ariana asked, her voice lower now. There was a pause before Jaden responded. "A necessary compromise. Sophia was getting antsy about commitment. The pregnancy accelerated the timeline, that's all. I'll be the devoted dad in public. What happens behind closed doors is our business." Sophia's hand flew to her mouth, stifling the sound that threatened to escape. The baby, her child, was just a complication to him, part of some scheme to access her father's connections. "You're so bad," Ariana giggled, the sound turning Sophia's stomach. "What about after the wedding? How long before we can stop pretending?" "A year, maybe 2. We let Sophia play house. I establish myself with Benjamin's contacts, then sadly the marriage falls apart. No one will blame me for leaving when she's so obsessed with the baby. You and I take a respectable interval, then go public. By then, your firm will have benefited from my connections too, and I get to stop playing the supportive best friend? Thank God. It's exhausting pretending to care about her endless baby talk." Sophia couldn't listen to anymore. She backed away from the door, her vision tunneling as shock gave way to a cold, clarifying rage. Somehow she made it back to the elevator, her movements mechanical. Inside, she pressed the button for her floor, then leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe normally. The betrayal wasn't just Jaden's infidelity, though that cut deep enough. It was the calculated deception, the mockery of everything she'd believed was real. Her fiancé and her best friend had been playing her for a fool, using her trust as a stepping stone to their own ambitions. When the elevator doors opened on her floor, Sophia stepped out a different woman than the bride who had stood before the mirror an hour earlier. The happiness was gone, replaced by something harder and more resolute. She walked steadily back to the bridal suite, her decision already made. Benjamin looked up as she entered, his face anxious. "Sunshine? What happened?" Sophia met her father's eyes, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Dad, I need your help. We're still having a wedding today, but it's not going to end the way anyone expects." "What do you mean?" Benjamin's face creased with concern as he crossed the room towards Sophia. "What exactly did you see down there?" Sophia sank into the plush armchair by the window, her legs suddenly unable to support her. The USB drive felt heavy in her palm as she clutched it tightly. "Everything was a lie, Dad. Every moment, every promise." Her voice remained eerily calm, belying the hurricane raging inside her. "I need to see what's on this," she said, gesturing to the USB drive. Benjamin retrieved his laptop from his overnight bag, opening it on the side table. As he plugged in the drive, Sophia recounted what she'd overheard in clinical detail, as though reporting a patient's symptoms, rather than describing the obliteration of her future. The video loaded, showing security footage from the hotel bar the previous night. There sat Jaden and Ariana, heads close together in an intimate booth. No one viewing the scene could mistake their body language, hands lingering on arms, foreheads nearly touching, Ariana's fingers trailing down Jaden's chest. At one point, Jaden pulled out Sophia's wedding ring, and they both laughed as Ariana tried it on mockingly. 3 years, Sophia whispered. Was any of it real? Benjamin closed the laptop with a sharp click, his jaw clenched tight. I'll kill him. No, Sophia said, placing her hand on her father's arm. That's not what I need from you right now. A knock at the door interrupted them. Sophia tensed, but it was only Lisa, her makeup artist, arriving with her assistant Megan. They halted in the doorway, sensing the tension. Is this a bad time? Lisa asked cautiously. We can come back in 15 minutes. Sophia glanced at the clock. The ceremony was scheduled to begin in 90 minutes. Guests would already be arriving, taking their seats in the Grand Harbor Views ballroom, which had been transformed into a flower-filled sanctuary for the occasion. Her cousins from Chicago, Jaden's colleagues from Morgan Stanley, doctors and nurses from the pediatric ward, all gathered to witness what they believed would be a perfect union. No, Sophia said, surprising herself with the steadiness in her voice. Come in. We're proceeding as planned. Benjamin stared at her in disbelief. Sophia, you can't possibly... Dad, she cut him off, her eyes conveying what she couldn't say in front of the makeup artists. Trust me, please. As Lisa began working, applying foundation to Sophia's pale face, Megan chattered about the arriving guests. Dr. Reynolds just checked in, you know, that cardiac surgeon you worked with on the Thompson twins case. And I saw your friend Eliza from nursing school in the lobby with her husband. Oh, and Mr. Campbell's parents are here early. His mother was asking for you. Sophia nodded, barely registering the words. Jaden's parents, Harold and Vivian Campbell, had never warmed to her. Harold, a self-made investment banker, had made it clear that he'd hoped his son would marry someone from their social circle, not a nurse who worked for a living. Vivian had been marginally warmer, but seemed perpetually disappointed by Sophia's practical career choice and modest background. Would they be pleased to learn their son was actually in love with Ariana? Sophia wondered bitterly. Ariana came from money, old Boston money. Her family owned property throughout New England, and her marketing firm catered exclusively to luxury brands. In many ways, she was the daughter-in-law the Campbells had wanted. Sophia? Lisa's voice broke through her thoughts. Are you feeling okay? You're very pale. Just wedding day nerves, Sophia lied smoothly. And this little one is doing somersaults. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling a flutter of movement that grounded her temporarily. Whatever happened today, she would protect her child from the fallout. The door swung open again, and Ariana swept in, her cheeks flushed. Sorry I'm late. The Johnson crisis is handled. She avoided Sophia's eyes, moving directly to the rack of bridesmaids' dresses. Sophia watched her in the mirror, observing details she'd previously missed. The slight dishevelment of Ariana's carefully styled hair, the faint smudge of her lipstick. How many times had Sophia overlooked these signs? How willfully blind had she been? Ariana, Sophia said evenly, could you check with the wedding planner about the video setup? I want to make sure everything's perfect for the ceremony. Video setup? Ariana frowned. I thought we decided against recording. I changed my mind, Sophia replied. I want to capture every moment of this day, every single second. Something in Sophia's tone made Ariana glance up sharply, but Sophia had already returned her attention to the makeup artist. Lisa, I think I'd like a bolder lip color after all. Something memorable. While Lisa worked on her makeup, Sophia's mind raced through memories, re-evaluating every interaction through this new lens of betrayal. She recalled the weekend Jaden had claimed to be on a business trip to Chicago, returning with a small gift for Sophia, but no stories about the city. Had he even left Boston, or had he spent those days with Ariana? And what about the night of her birthday when Ariana had begged off their celebration dinner, claiming food poisoning? Had they laughed about it later, these moments stolen at Sophia's expense? The pain was physical now, a crushing weight on her chest that threatened to dissolve into sobs. Sophia breathed deeply, channeling the techniques she used to remain calm during pediatric emergencies. Compartmentalize. Focus on the immediate task. Deal with emotions later. All done, Lisa announced, stepping back to admire her work. "You look stunning, Sophia." In the mirror, Sophia barely recognized herself. The woman staring back had her features, but behind the artfully applied makeup was a new hardness, a determination she'd never seen before. "Thank you," she said. "It's exactly what I wanted." As the makeup artists packed their supplies, Ariana returned, scrolling through her phone. "The video people are all set," she said distractedly, "and the wedding planner wants to know if you still want the dove release after the ceremony." Sophia considered this for a moment. "No doves," she decided. "I don't think anything should be trapped today." Ariana looked up, brow furrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," Sophia said, rising from her chair. "I just think some things deserve to be free, don't you?" Before Ariana could respond, there was another knock at the door. Sophia's other bridesmaids, her cousin Rachel and college roommate Danielle, entered, already dressed and ready to help. "Look at you," Rachel exclaimed, embracing Sophia carefully. "You're absolutely glowing." Sophia returned the hug mechanically, noting how Ariana hung back, suddenly fascinated by her phone again. Once Ariana would have been the first to offer affection, to make some teasing comment about Sophia's pregnancy glow. The absence of that familiarity was yet another small betrayal. "Jaden's looking pretty nervous," Danielle reported with a laugh. "We saw him pacing in the groom's suite, checking his watch every 30 seconds. "Is he?" Sophia asked mildly. "How interesting." Rachel gave her a curious look. "Everything okay, Soph? You seem different." "Just focused," Sophia replied. "It's an important day after all." As her bridesmaids busied themselves with final preparations, Sophia moved to the window, gazing down at the hotel gardens where chairs had been arranged for the outdoor cocktail hour that would follow the ceremony. Guests were already gathering, laughing and chatting in their finery, unaware of the drama unfolding above them. Among them, Sophia spotted Dr. Helen Kim, the head of pediatrics, and her mentor since nursing school. Helen had been the one to recommend Sophia for the specialized pediatric cardiac unit, recognizing her exceptional empathy and steady presence under pressure. Beside her stood Rabbi David Friedman, who had been Benjamin's friend for decades and had agreed to officiate the ceremony despite it being an interfaith wedding. These people, her people, had come to celebrate her happiness. How would they react to what she was planning? Sophia turned back to the room, catching sight of the wedding gown hanging on the closet door. The dress she'd spent months searching for, alterations carefully accommodating her growing belly. She'd imagined this day so many times, walking down the aisle toward Jaden, seeing the love in his eyes, beginning their life together surrounded by those they cared about. Now those dreams lay shattered at her feet, replaced by a cold resolve that felt foreign yet necessary. For a moment, doubt crept in. Should she simply call off the wedding, avoid the public spectacle? It would be easier, certainly less dramatic. A text notification chimed on her phone. It was Jaden. "Can't wait to see you walking toward me. You're making me the happiest man alive today." The brazen hypocrisy of his message crystallized her decision. He didn't deserve an easy out. Neither did Ariana. They had orchestrated this deception together, plotting behind her back while pretending to care about her, about their child. They had made the choice to betray her trust in the most intimate way possible. Now, she would make a choice too. "Dad?" Sophia called softly. Benjamin looked up from where he'd been speaking with Rachel. "Could we have a moment alone?" Once the room had cleared, Sophia took her father's hands in hers. "I need you to understand what I'm going to do," she said quietly. "And I need you to support me even if you don't agree." Benjamin studied her face. "You're going through with the ceremony." "Yes," Sophia confirmed, "but not for the reasons they expect." "Sunshine, public humiliation won't heal what they've done to you," Benjamin cautioned. "Think about yourself, about the baby." "That's exactly what I am thinking about," Sophia insisted. "Dad, they've been using me, using us. Jaden sees you as a connection to hospital boards, a stepping stone for his career. And Ariana," her voice caught slightly, 15 years of friendship, and she could look me in the eye every day while sleeping with the man I was going to marry. She moved to the window again, gathering her thoughts. "All my life you taught me to stand up for myself, to face problems head on. If I cancel this wedding now, they win. They get to control the narrative, to paint me as the unstable pregnant woman who got cold feet." She turned back to her father, eyes blazing with newfound strength. "I won't give them that power." Benjamin was silent for a long moment. "What exactly are you planning?" "The truth," Sophia said simply. In front of everyone they've been lying to. I want them to face what they've done, not in private where they can minimize it, but in the full light of day. And after? Benjamin asked. Have you thought about what comes next? Sophia placed a protective hand on her belly. I'll figure that out. But I know one thing for certain. My child deserves to be born to a mother who stands up for herself, who doesn't accept lies and manipulation, no matter how painful the alternative might be. Benjamin's expression softened. He crossed to Sophia, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. Your mother would be so proud of you right now, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Not because you're perfect, none of us are, but because when faced with heartbreak, you're choosing courage. Sophia leaned into her father's embrace, allowing herself this brief moment of comfort before what was to come. I'm so angry, Dad, she whispered against his shoulder. I'm angry and hurt and terrified all at once. I know, sunshine, Benjamin murmured, stroking her hair carefully to avoid disturbing the elegant updo. And you have every right to those feelings. But remember this, what they did reflects on them, not on you. Their choices were their own. Sophia straightened, wiping away a single tear that threatened to fall. I need to get dressed, she said, glancing at the clock. The ceremony starts in 45 minutes. Are you sure about this? Benjamin asked one final time. We could still cancel. Tell everyone you're not feeling well. Sophia shook her head firmly. I've never been more certain of anything in my life. The words echoed those she'd spoken earlier about marrying Jaden, but now they carried a different weight, the weight of truth rather than illusion. As Benjamin called the bridesmaids back in to help Sophia into her gown, she caught Ariana's eye in the mirror. For a fleeting second, something like guilt flickered across Ariana's face before she quickly looked away, busying herself with Sophia's veil. You look beautiful, Ariana said, her voice oddly strained. Jaden won't be able to take his eyes off you. I'm counting on it, Sophia replied softly. I want his complete attention when I say my vows. Rachel and Danielle exchanged confused glances at Sophia's tone, but said nothing as they arranged the train of her gown. The final preparations continued around her. Lipstick touch-ups, the careful positioning of her veil, the distribution of bouquets. Through it all, Sophia remained calm, almost detached, as though watching the scene from a distance. The hurt was still there, a raw wound beneath her composed exterior, but it was now accompanied by a sense of purpose that steadied her. When the wedding planner appeared at the door, clipboard in hand, to announce that guests were seated and the music was about to begin, Sophia took a final look at herself in the mirror. The woman who gazed back was transformed, not just by the elegant dress and professional makeup, but by the knowledge that had altered everything. It's time, the wedding planner said. Sophia nodded, accepting her bouquet of white roses and baby's breath. As her bridesmaids lined up at the door, Ariana stepped forward to adjust Sophia's veil one last time. I love you, Soph, she said, and for a moment, Sophia could almost believe she meant it. You deserve all the happiness in the world today. Sophia met her former best friend's gaze directly. Yes, she agreed, her voice quiet but firm. I do deserve happiness. And after today, I'm going to find it. With those words, she took her father's arm and prepared to walk toward the man who had betrayed her, the ceremony that would not end as anyone expected, and the moment that would forever divide her life into before and after. The string quartet's rendition of Pachelbel's canon filled the Grand Harbor View's ballroom as the massive double doors swung open. 200 heads turned in unison, a collective intake of breath at the sight of Sophia Matthews on her father's arm. Her silk gown caught the light streaming through the stained glass windows, creating an almost ethereal effect as she stood poised at the entrance. At the altar, Jaden Campbell straightened his posture, his practiced smile firmly in place. In his tailored charcoal tuxedo with an emerald pocket square matching the bridesmaids' dresses, he looked every inch the successful investment banker, marrying the woman of his dreams. Only Sophia knew the calculated ambition behind that smile, the hollowness of his vows to be. Ready, sunshine? Benjamin whispered, covering her trembling hand with his own. Sophia drew a deep breath. Yes. With the first step down the aisle, Sophia entered a strange, dreamlike state. The faces turned toward her, some familiar, some less so, blurred into a collage of expectant smiles. She registered Dr. Reynolds nodding approvingly, Jaden's mother dabbing at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, her nursing colleagues beaming from the third row. Her focus narrowed to Jaden's face, studying it with new clarity. How had she never noticed the calculation behind his warm gaze, the slight insincerity in the curve of his smile? Now she saw it all. The performance of the devoted fiancé, the mask he'd worn so convincingly for 3 years. In the front row, Harold Campbell stood straighter as she approached, finally offering the approving nod that Sophia had sought for years. Beside him, Vivian's smile seemed warmer than usual. Had Jaden's plan already begun working? Was her pregnancy, the complication, already softening his parents toward her? To Jaden's right, the groomsman stood at attention. His best man, Trevor, caught Sophia's eye and winked. Behind Jaden, Ariana stood with the other bridesmaids, her complexion noticeably paler than usual. She clutched her bouquet with white-knuckled intensity, her eyes darting between Sophia and Jaden. Each step brought Sophia closer to the moment she'd rehearsed in her mind. Her baby shifted within her, a reminder of what was truly at stake. This child deserved better than a father who viewed them as a necessary compromise, a mother who ignored betrayal for the sake of appearances. When they reached the altar, Benjamin placed Sophia's hand in Jaden's with visible reluctance. Sophia felt Jaden's fingers close around hers, warm, steady, utterly deceiving. "You look incredible," he whispered, just loudly enough for the first row to hear. A perfect performance. Rabbi Friedman smiled benevolently at the couple before addressing the gathering. "Friends and family, we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Jaden and Sophia, two souls who have chosen to journey through life together." As the rabbi continued, Sophia maintained her serene expression, while her mind catalogued every lie that had brought her to this moment. The weekend trips Jaden had taken for work, the late nights when Ariana had claimed to be with other friends, the casual way they'd both encouraged Sophia to focus on her career while they presumably plotted their future without her. "Marriage is not entered into lightly," Rabbi Friedman continued, "but with reverence and deep commitment to honesty, fidelity, and mutual respect." Sophia almost laughed at the irony, catching herself just in time. Behind her, she sensed Ariana shifting uncomfortably. "Before we proceed with the vows, as is tradition, I ask, if anyone knows of any reason why these two should not be joined in matrimony, speak now or forever. Hold your peace." The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the distant sound of traffic beyond the hotel grounds. This was it, the traditional moment where objections were raised. Sophia could speak now, ending the charade before it progressed further. Instead, she smiled sweetly, remaining silent. Not yet. The moment had to be perfect. Rabbi Friedman nodded, continuing with the ceremony. When the time came for vows, Jaden went first, his voice carrying confidently through the ballroom. "Sophia," he began, taking both her hands in his, "from the moment we met, I knew you were special. Your compassion, your strength, your boundless capacity for care, these are the qualities that made me fall in love with you." He paused, his eyes convincingly moist with emotion. "Today I promise to cherish you always, to be faithful and true, to stand by you through whatever life brings us. I pledge to be the husband you deserve and the father our child needs. This is my solemn vow." A murmur of appreciation rippled through the audience. Even Benjamin, knowing what he knew, seemed momentarily affected by Jaden's performance. "Sophia," Rabbi Friedman prompted gently, "your vows." Sophia took a deep breath, centering herself. She'd discarded the vows she'd spent weeks perfecting, replacing them with words born from this morning's revelations. "Jaden," she began, her voice clear and steady, "I stand here today having learned something profound about love." She paused, meeting his eyes directly. "I've learned that true love cannot exist without honesty. That promises mean nothing without integrity behind them." A flicker of confusion crossed Jaden's face, quickly masked. In her peripheral vision, Sophia saw Ariana stiffen. "When I met you 3 years ago," Sophia continued, "I believed I'd found someone who valued truth as much as I do. Someone who understood that relationships must be built on mutual respect." Her voice remained calm, though her heart hammered in her chest. "Today I've come to understand exactly what our relationship has been built on." Jaden's smile faltered slightly. Behind him, Trevor shifted uneasily, sensing the deviation from expected script. "I made a promise to myself long ago," Sophia said, raising her voice slightly to ensure it carried to the back row. that I would never allow myself to be made a fool of, that I would never model for my child what it looks like to accept deception and disrespect. The confusion in the ballroom was palpable now. Rabbi Friedman glanced questioningly at Benjamin, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Jaden, I'd like to thank you," Sophia continued, her voice strong despite the tremor in her hands. "Thank you for showing me exactly what kind of man you are before I legally bound myself to you." She turned slightly, addressing the increasingly bewildered guests. "I apologize to everyone who traveled to be here today. I truly believed we were gathering to celebrate love and commitment. Instead, we're witnessing the end of a deception that has gone on far too long." Sophia nodded toward the back of the room, where Michael, the security guard who had delivered the envelope, stood by the audio-visual controls. He pressed a button, and the large screens that had been installed to show the ceremony to those in the back now displayed the security footage from the hotel bar the previous night. A collective gasp rippled through the ballroom as Jaden and Ariana appeared on screen, their intimate body language unmistakable. The audio was crystal clear. "How much longer do we have to keep up this charade?" Ariana's recorded voice asked. "Just get through tomorrow," Jaden replied. "Once we're married, phase 2 begins." Sophia's too trusting to suspect anything, and with the baby coming, she'll be too distracted to notice what we're doing. And her father's connections? All part of the plan, babe. Benjamin Matthews is our ticket to the top. The footage continued, revealing in excruciating detail their mockery of Sophia, their plans for using her father's hospital board connections, and their strategy for eventually leaving her once Jaden had established himself professionally. Sophia watched Jaden's face drain of color as his own words condemned him. Beside him, Trevor took a step back, physically distancing himself from his friend. Behind them, Ariana had gone completely still, her eyes wide with horror. When the video ended, the silence in the ballroom was deafening. Sophia turned back to Jaden, finding a strange comfort in finally seeing his true face. The mask of devoted fiancé replaced by panic and calculation as he scrambled to salvage the situation. "Sophia," he began, his voice low and urgent, "this isn't what it looks like. Ariana and I were just what, Jaden?" Sophia interrupted, her voice remarkably steady. "Just joking about my father's connections? Just laughing about my pregnancy being a complication? Just planning how long you needed to pretend to love me before discarding me?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. In the front row, Harold Campbell sat rigidly upright, his expression thunderous, while Vivian covered her mouth with her hand. "You don't understand," Jaden tried again, reaching for Sophia's arm. She stepped back, evading his touch. "I understand perfectly," she said. "I understand that you and my maid of honor have been lying to my face for years. I understand that my child, this baby," she placed a protective hand on her belly, "means nothing to you beyond a necessary compromise to secure my trust." From behind Jaden, Ariana finally found her voice. "Sophia, please," she pleaded, stepping forward. "It's not what you think. We never meant to hurt you." Sophia turned to her former best friend, 15 years of shared history crumbling between them. "That's the worst part, Ari. You didn't even consider me enough to worry about hurting me. I was just a stepping stone for both of you." Benjamin moved to Sophia's side, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. "I think we've heard enough," he said firmly. "This ceremony is over." "Wait!" Jaden's voice took on an edge of desperation as whispers swelled throughout the ballroom. "Sophia, be reasonable. Think about the baby. Think about what you're throwing away." Sophia laughed then, a genuine sound of disbelief. "What am I throwing away, Jaden? A marriage based on lies, a partner who mocks me behind my back, a father for my child who sees them as an inconvenience." She shook her head. "No, I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something better, for myself and for my baby." Dr. Helen Kim had risen from her seat, moving to stand beside Benjamin in silent support. Around the room, Sophia's colleagues from the pediatric ward formed a protective semicircle, their loyalty clear. "You won't get away with this," Jaden hissed, his charming facade completely dissolved. "You think anyone will want you now? A single mother with no husband. You need me, Sophia." Before Sophia could respond, another voice cut through the tension. "That's enough, Jaden." Harold Campbell had risen from his seat, his expression one of utter disgust as he looked at his son. "You've disgraced yourself and this family quite enough for one day." Vivian stood beside her husband, her earlier tears now replaced by cold anger. "We raised you better than this," she said quietly, the disappointment in her voice more damning than any shout could have been. Jaden's face contorted with frustrated rage. He turned back to Sophia, taking an aggressive step forward. "You planned this," he accused. "You set me up." "No, Jaden," Sophia replied calmly. "You did this to yourself. I simply refused to play the role you assigned me." Benjamin moved protectively in front of his daughter. "I suggest you leave now, Mr. Campbell, before I forget I'm a gentleman." The tension in the ballroom was electric. For a moment it seemed Jaden might lash out physically, but Trevor grabbed his arm. "Let's go, man," he muttered. "It's over." The fight seemed to drain from Jaden. With a final glare at Sophia, he allowed Trevor to lead him toward a side exit, the wedding guests parting silently to let them pass. Ariana remained frozen in place, tears streaming down her face. "Sophia," she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I never thought—" "That's the problem, isn't it?" Sophia interrupted. "You never thought about me at all. 15 years of friendship, and you could betray me without a second thought." Ariana flinched, as if struck. "What can I do?" she asked brokenly. "How can I make this right?" Sophia regarded her former friend with a mixture of pity and resolve. "You can't. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired." She turned away, effectively dismissing Ariana from her life. Rabbi Friedman cleared his throat, addressing the stunned wedding guests. "Friends, it seems clear that this ceremony will not be proceeding as planned. I suggest we give Ms. Matthews and her family some privacy at this difficult time." Slowly, the guests began to file out, many stopping to offer quiet words of support to Sophia or condemning glances toward Ariana, who remained rooted in place, her makeup streaked with tears. Dr. Kim approached Sophia, clasping her hands warmly. "You handled that with extraordinary grace," she said quietly. "If you need anything, anything at all, you call me, day or night." "Thank you, Helen," Sophia replied, genuinely touched by the support. As the ballroom emptied, Sophia found herself suddenly exhausted, the adrenaline that had carried her through the confrontation beginning to ebb. She sank into a nearby chair, her father immediately at her side. "You did it, sunshine," Benjamin said softly. "I've never been prouder." Sophia looked around the empty ballroom at the flowers and decorations that had been meant to celebrate a union now revealed as false. "What happens now, Dad?" she asked, her voice small for the first time that day. Benjamin squeezed her hand. "Now we go home. We regroup. We prepare for this little one." He placed his hand gently on her belly. "And we remember that the truth, however painful, is always better than the most comfortable lie." Sophia nodded, rising slowly from the chair. As she and Benjamin walked toward the exit, she passed the altar where, in another reality, she would have been married by now. The thought brought not regret but relief. Relief at having discovered the truth before making the irrevocable mistake of binding herself to Jaden. At the doorway she paused, looking back at the empty space where her future had been simultaneously destroyed and reborn. Somewhere in the hotel, Jaden was likely raging, his carefully constructed plans in ruins. Ariana was facing the consequences of her betrayal, years of friendship discarded for a scheme that had collapsed spectacularly. Yet despite the pain and humiliation, Sophia felt lighter than she had in months. The burden of unknowing suspicion that had nagged at her subconscious had been lifted. In its place was something new and unfamiliar, a sense of power she'd never experienced before. "Sophia," Benjamin prompted gently from the hallway. She turned away from the ballroom, away from what might have been, and stepped through the doorway toward what would be instead, a future entirely of her own making. "Let's go home, Dad," she said, her voice steady once more. "We have a nursery to finish." The windshield wipers fought against the relentless October rain as Benjamin's car pulled into the driveway of his Brookline home. 3 months had passed since the wedding. That wasn't. But for Sophia, sitting silently in the passenger seat, it might have been yesterday. The memories remained razor-sharp. Jaden's face as the video played, Ariana's tearful pleas, the hushed whispers of 200 guests witnessing her humiliation and triumph. "You okay, sunshine?" Benjamin asked, cutting the engine. Sophia nodded, one hand resting on her now prominent 8-month belly. "Just tired. Dr. Patel says that's normal at this stage." The house, a stately Victorian that had been in the Matthews family for 3 generations, had become Sophia's refuge. After the wedding disaster, she'd moved from her apartment back into her childhood home, converting the third-floor study into a nursery for the baby boy she now knew she was expecting. Inside, Sophia sank onto the living room sofa, kicking off her shoes with a sigh of relief. The pregnancy had progressed without medical complications, but emotionally, each day remained a battleground. "Tea," Benjamin offered, already moving toward the kitchen. "Please," Sophia called after him. She reached for her phone, scrolling through missed messages, 3 from her cousin Rachel, 1 from Helen Kim, and 2 from Eliza Johnson, her former nursing school classmate who had been reaching out consistently since the wedding. No messages from Jaden, which was a relief. After his initial barrage of alternating apologies and accusations, he'd finally gone silent when Sophia's lawyer had made it clear that his only involvement with the child would be financial. The legal agreement they'd hammered out granted Jaden limited visitation rights once the baby turned 1, with strict supervision and no overnight stays. Ariana's attempts at contact had been more persistent and arguably more painful. 15 years of friendship created bonds that weren't easily severed, even by the most profound betrayal. Sophia had blocked her number after the 20th tearful voicemail, each one cutting deeper than the last, because they forced her to confront not just Ariana's betrayal, but her own blindness to it. "Here you go," Benjamin said, returning with 2 steaming mugs. "Chamomile with honey, just how you like it." Sophia accepted the tea gratefully. "The nursery furniture is being delivered tomorrow," she said, attempting normalcy. "The crib and changing table, at least. I'll be home to help set everything up," Benjamin promised, "though I'm still not convinced you needed to return that crib your colleagues bought." Sophia stared into her mug. "I couldn't keep it, Dad. Not when I knew Ariana had contributed to it. She donated the original crib to a women's shelter, unable to look at it without thinking of her former best friend's hands touching it, selecting it, pretending to care." Benjamin sat beside her, his expression concerned. "Have you given any more thought to Dr. Banerjee's suggestion about the support group?" Sophia sighed. Maya Banerjee, the therapist she'd reluctantly started seeing at Helen's insistence, had been gently pushing her toward a group for single, expectant mothers. So far, Sophia had resisted. "I'm not ready to share my story with strangers," she said quietly, "not when it's still all over social media." Despite her best efforts, the wedding confrontation had gone viral. Someone, Sophia suspected one of Jaden's more opportunistic groomsmen, had recorded the entire scene on their phone. Within days, the video had circled the globe, with Sophia cast alternately as a heroic feminist standing up to male deception or a vindictive woman publicly humiliating her fiancé. The professional fallout had been equally complicated. Sophia had taken an extended leave from the pediatric ward, initially intending to return after a few weeks. But the publicity had made that impossible. Parents recognized her. Colleagues treated her differently, some with excessive sympathy, others with barely concealed fascination. The privacy and dignity she'd always maintained at work had been stripped away. "Maya thinks isolation isn't healthy," Benjamin reminded her gently. "Especially now." "I'm not isolated," Sophia protested, gesturing toward her phone. "Rachel calls every day. Helen checks on me constantly. I have people. People who knew you before," Benjamin pointed out. "Sometimes it helps to connect with those who only know the you that exists now." Sophia started to respond when a sharp pain lanced through her abdomen. She gasped, doubling over. "Sophia?" Benjamin was immediately alert, half rising from his seat. "It's fine," she managed, breathing through the discomfort. "Braxton Hicks. Dr. Patel warned me they'd get stronger." But even as she said it, another contraction gripped her, more intense than the last. When it passed, Sophia noticed wetness beneath her. "Dad," she whispered, suddenly terrified. "I think my water just broke. It's too early. I'm only 34 weeks. Benjamin remained remarkably calm, helping Sophia to her feet. "Let's get you to the hospital. Everything will be all right." The drive to Massachusetts General Hospital passed in a blur of pain and fear. Sophia's medical training betrayed her now, her mind cycling through every possible complication of premature labor: underdeveloped lungs, feeding difficulties, jaundice. Each potential issue more terrifying than the last. In the hospital, everything accelerated. Sophia was rushed to labor and delivery, monitors attached to track her contractions and the baby's heartbeat. 34 weeks is actually quite good, Dr. Melissa Torres assured her after an initial examination. "Your baby boy is showing strong vital signs. We're going to try to slow the labor, but if we can't, he has excellent chances. Sophia nodded mechanically, struggling to shift from patient to medical professional. Steroid injections for lung development? Dr. Torres smiled. Already ordered. You know the protocol. Left alone briefly while Benjamin contacted Rachel and Helen, Sophia stared at the ceiling, fighting against the wave of loneliness that threatened to overwhelm her. This wasn't how she'd imagined this moment. In her dreams, Jaden had been by her side, nervous but supportive. Ariana would have been in the waiting room, pacing anxiously until she could meet her godchild. Instead, Sophia faced the most transformative experience of her life, surrounded by medical staff and her father, loving and supportive, but unable to fill the specific void left by Jaden and Ariana's betrayal. When the door opened, Sophia expected a nurse with the promised steroid injection. Instead, a slight woman with cropped silver hair and kind eyes entered, wearing scrubs and a gentle smile. "Ms. Matthews, I'm Dr. Vivian Reeves, neonatal specialist. I understand you're having some premature contractions." Sophia nodded, automatically extending her arm for what she assumed would be the injection. Dr. Reeves chuckled. "Not quite yet. First, I'd like to talk about what's happening and what to expect if your little one decides to make an early appearance." Something in the doctor's straightforward manner put Sophia at ease. As Dr. Reeves explained the NICU procedures and potential challenges with a premature infant, Sophia found herself asking questions, her medical knowledge engaging with the doctor's expertise. "You're remarkably calm, Doctor," Reeves observed after answering Sophia's detailed questions about respiratory support options. "Most parents in your situation are too overwhelmed to discuss ventilator settings." Sophia managed a small smile. "I'm a pediatric cardiac nurse, or I was until recently." "Ah," Dr. Reeves nodded. "That explains it. Though in my experience, medical knowledge can be both blessing and curse when you're the patient. Too much information sometimes." "Better than not enough," Sophia countered, wincing as another contraction began. Dr. Reeves checked the monitor. "These are coming steadily now. I think your son may have his own timeline in mind." The next few hours passed in a haze of increasing pain, medical interventions, and growing acceptance that her baby was indeed coming early. The steroid injections were administered, IV fluids established, and by midnight, Sophia was fully dilated. "You're doing great, Doctor," Torres encouraged as Sophia began pushing. "The NICU team is standing by, but your little guy is showing strong heart rates throughout." Benjamin had been unwavering, holding Sophia's hand through each contraction, wiping her forehead with cool cloths, murmuring encouragement as she worked to bring her son into the world. At 2:47 a.m., after 17 hours of labor, Noah Benjamin Matthews arrived with a surprisingly robust cry for his early arrival. Weighing 5 pounds 3 ounces, he was whisked immediately to a warming station where the NICU team assessed him. "Sophia," Dr. Torres called, her voice jubilant. "He's doing remarkably well. APGAR scores of 8 and 9. Relief washed over Sophia in a wave so powerful it left her trembling. Despite everything, the stress, the betrayal, the premature labor, her son was here, and he was healthy. "Do you want to hold him?" Dr. Reeves asked, approaching with a tightly swaddled bundle. "Just briefly before we take him to the NICU for observation." Sophia nodded wordlessly, her arms opening automatically to receive her child. As Noah was placed against her chest, something shifted inside her, a tectonic movement of her heart, making room for this new, overwhelming love. "Hello, Noah," she whispered, studying his tiny face with its button nose and rosebud mouth. "I'm your mom." Benjamin leaned over them both, tears streaming unashamedly down his face. "He's perfect, sunshine. Absolutely perfect." For a moment, the room faded away. The monitors, the medical staff, the lingering pain of childbirth. There was only Noah, his surprisingly strong grip around Sophia's finger, his dark eyes blinking up at her with innocent trust. Then he was gone, taken to the NICU where he would spend his first days under close observation. Sophia felt the loss physically, her arms aching for the weight of him. "You should rest," Dr. Torres advised, completing the post-delivery procedures. "You've been through a lot, and Noah's in excellent hands." But rest proved elusive. After being moved to a recovery room, Sophia lay awake, replaying the birth in her mind, wrestling with emotions she hadn't anticipated. Joy at Noah's arrival collided with a renewed sense of betrayal. Jaden should have been here. Would have been here if he'd been the man she thought he was. "Do you want me to call anyone?" Benjamin asked, noticing her distress. "Rachel? Helen?" Sophia shook her head. "Not yet." "But—" She hesitated, the request feeling like a surrender. "Could you let Jaden know? He has a legal right to know his son was born, even if he doesn't deserve it." Benjamin's expression tightened, but he nodded. "If that's what you want." "It's not what I want," Sophia admitted. "It's what's right." After Benjamin stepped out to make the call, Sophia closed her eyes, exhaustion finally overtaking her. She drifted into an uneasy sleep, her dreams filled with Noah's tiny face and hands, reaching for him across an ever-widening chasm. She woke to sunlight streaming through hospital blinds and the sound of hushed voices. Opening her eyes, she found Benjamin in quiet conversation with Dr. Reeves near the door. "How's Noah?" Sophia asked immediately, struggling to sit up. Dr. Reeves approached with a warm smile. "He's doing remarkably well for a 34-weeker. Strong respiratory function, maintaining his temperature, even managed some formula from a preemie nipple. We're cautiously optimistic that his NICU stay will be brief." The relief was overwhelming. "When can I see him?" "As soon as you're feeling up to walking to the NICU," Dr. Reeves replied. "Or we can bring a wheelchair if you prefer." "I'll walk," Sophia decided firmly, already swinging her legs over the side of the bed, despite the soreness of recent childbirth. 20 minutes later, properly gowned and scrubbed, Sophia entered the NICU with Benjamin at her side. The familiar sounds of monitors and gentle beeping welcomed her, though experiencing it as a parent rather than a nurse was disorienting. Noah's incubator was in the corner, less intensive than many of the setups around him. Despite his early arrival, he required minimal intervention, just some supplemental oxygen and monitoring. "There's our champion," a cheerful voice greeted them. A nurse Sophia didn't recognize approached, her name badge identifying her as Marina. "He's quite the rock star, took his entire feeding an hour ago and has been sleeping peacefully since." Sophia placed her hand against the clear plastic of the incubator, drinking in the sight of her son. "When can I hold him again?" "Right now, if you'd like," Marina offered, already preparing to open the incubator. "Kangaroo care is the best medicine for these little ones." Minutes later, Sophia was settled in a rocking chair, Noah placed skin to skin against her chest, covered with a light blanket. The profound contentment of holding him washed over her like a healing balm. "I'll give you two some privacy," Benjamin murmured, stepping back. "I'm going to grab some coffee and check in with Rachel." Alone with Noah, Sophia finally allowed the tears to come. Not the devastated sobs she'd expected, but gentle tears of wonder and resolve. This tiny person depended on her completely. His future, his sense of security and self-worth would be shaped by her choices, her resilience. "I promise you this," she whispered against Noah's downy head. "You will never doubt that you are loved. You will never wonder if you matter. And you will learn that sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations." Sophia was so absorbed in Noah that she didn't notice the figure hesitating in the NICU doorway until Marina approached him. Looking up, she froze as Jaden stepped into the room, looking uncharacteristically disheveled in jeans and a rumpled button-down. "Sophia," he said, his voice unnaturally loud in the quiet space. "I came as soon as Benjamin called." Marina glanced between them, clearly sensing the tension. "Mr. Matthews, would you like to meet your son? He's not—" Sophia began, then stopped herself. Whatever Jaden had done, Noah was still biologically his son. "Yes, this is Noah's father." Jaden approached slowly, stopping several feet from the rocking chair. For once, his confident facade had cracked, revealing something like genuine awe as he looked at Noah. "He's so small," he murmured. "He's premature," Sophia replied, her voice neutral. 34 weeks. Jaden shifted uncomfortably. Would it be okay if I held him?" Sophia's instinct was to refuse, to protect Noah from the man who had seen him as a complication. But looking down at her son's peaceful face, she made a different choice. "You can sit in that chair," she said, nodding to a nearby rocker. "Marina will show you how to support his head properly." The awkward transfer was completed with Marina's expert assistance. Sophia watched Jaden carefully, searching for any sign of the calculated manipulator she'd unmasked 3 months ago. Instead, she saw something unexpected. A man utterly transformed by the small bundle in his arms, his usual confidence replaced by vulnerable wonder. "He has your nose," Jaden said softly. And your chin? Sophia said nothing, her emotions too complex to untangle. Seeing Jayden hold Noah evoked the life she'd once imagined, co-parenting with a man she loved, building a family together. That dream was shattered beyond repair, yet here was its ghost, taunting her with what might have been. After a few minutes, Jayden carefully returned Noah to Sophia's waiting arms. "Thank you," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "for letting me meet him." Sophia nodded, unable to form words around the lump in her throat. "I know I have no right to ask anything of you," Jayden continued, "but I'd like to be part of his life, a real part, not just financial support." "We have an agreement," Sophia reminded him, her voice steadier than she felt. "Limited visitation after he turns 1. "I'm asking you to reconsider," Jayden replied. "Not for my sake, but for his. Every boy needs a father." Sophia looked down at Noah, then back at Jayden. "What he needs is people who truly love him, who see him as a blessing, not a complication or a means to an end." Jayden flinched at his own words being thrown back at him. "I was wrong. Seeing him now, holding him, I was so wrong, Sophia, about everything." For the first time since the wedding, Sophia allowed herself to really look at Jayden, not the manipulator she'd exposed, not the charming facade he'd perfected, but the man beneath it all. What she saw surprised her. Genuine regret, yes, but also a calculating awareness of how this moment might be leveraged. Even now, even here, part of him was performing, seeking advantage. "I need you to leave now," Sophia said quietly. "I'll have my lawyer contact yours about potential adjustments to the visitation schedule, but I can't discuss this today." Jayden hesitated, clearly wanting to press his case, but something in Sophia's expression stopped him. "All right," he conceded. "But I meant what I said. I want to be part of his life." After he left, Sophia exhaled slowly, the tension draining from her body. Noah stirred against her chest, his tiny fingers flexing as if reaching for something just beyond his grasp. "It's okay, little one," she murmured. "We're going to figure this out together." By the time Benjamin returned, Sophia had made a decision. "I need to make some changes," she told him, as he settled into the chair Jayden had vacated. "For Noah's sake." "What kind of changes?" Benjamin asked cautiously. Sophia looked down at her son, drawing strength from his peaceful presence. "I can't go back to our old house, not with Noah. Too many memories, too much of the past." She took a deep breath. "I think I need to accept Dr. Kim's offer." Helen had recently approached Sophia about joining a new pediatric cardiovascular center she was establishing in Providence, Rhode Island, close enough to Boston to maintain ties, but far enough for a fresh start. "Are you sure?" Benjamin asked, concern evident in his voice. "It's a big move, especially with a newborn." "I'm sure," Sophia replied, surprising herself with her conviction. "Noah deserves a mother who's moving forward, not trapped in what might have been." She met her father's gaze directly. "And I deserve that too." Benjamin reached out, squeezing her hand gently. "Then that's what we'll do. I'll help you with whatever you need." Sophia smiled, the first genuine smile in what felt like forever. "I know you will, Dad. You always have." As if recognizing the significance of the moment, Noah's tiny hand closed around Sophia's finger, his grip surprisingly strong for one so small. It felt like a promise, not of an easy path forward, but of one worth taking, together. What Sophia couldn't know, as she rocked her newborn son in the peaceful NICU, was that Jayden's appearance was merely the first tremor of coming complications. Outside in the hospital parking lot, he was already on his phone, his moment of genuine emotion giving way to more familiar calculation. "She's vulnerable right now," he told the person on the other end. "With the baby early and everything, I think we can use this to our advantage." 6 months into her new life in Providence, Sophia stood at the window of her office at the Northeastern Pediatric Cardiovascular Center, watching snow fall quietly over the city. The January chill couldn't penetrate the warm modern building, but she felt a different kind of coldness as she stared at the legal document on her desk. Jayden was suing for joint custody of Noah. The petition cited Sophia's relocation as parental alienation and claimed she had deliberately obstructed Jayden's relationship with his son. His lawyers had attached affidavits from character witnesses, including Ariana, testifying to Jayden's reformed character and genuine commitment to fatherhood. Sophia's phone lit up with a text from Helen. Meeting pushed to 2:30. "Everything okay?" Sophia sent a quick affirmative reply, though nothing was remotely okay. Since Noah's birth, she'd rebuilt her life piece by piece. The move to Providence, the new position as head nurse of the cardiac intensive care unit, the small but comfortable apartment near the water where she and Noah had established their routines. Benjamin visited weekly, and Sophia had even begun attending the single-parent support group that Dr. Banerjee had originally recommended. Noah, now 6 months old, was thriving, hitting all his developmental milestones despite his premature birth, his serious dark eyes taking in the world with what Sophia liked to think was precocious intelligence. He was her center, her purpose, her joy, and now Jaden threatened all of it. A knock at her office door pulled Sophia from her thoughts. "Come in," she called, quickly sliding the custody papers into a drawer. Dr. Marcus Chen entered, his usual energetic demeanor somewhat subdued. As the center's lead pediatric cardiologist, Marcus had become both colleague and friend to Sophia during her transition to Providence. "Got a minute?" he asked, closing the door behind him. "I wanted to discuss Katie Sutton's case before the team meeting." Sophia nodded, grateful for the distraction. Katie was a 4-year-old with a complex congenital heart defect scheduled for surgery the following week. Her last echo showed improvement with the medication adjustments, but I'm still concerned about her pulmonary pressures. They fell into comfortable medical discussion, reviewing treatment options and post-operative care plans. Working with Marcus had been one of the unexpected pleasures of Sophia's new position, his brilliant mind matched by genuine compassion for his tiny patients. "You seem distracted today," Marcus observed as they concluded their discussion. "Everything all right?" Sophia hesitated. She'd kept her personal troubles separate from her professional life, but Marcus had a way of seeing through her carefully maintained composure. "Legal issues," she admitted finally. "Noah's father is filing for joint custody." Marcus's expression darkened. He knew the outline of Sophia's story, most of the medical staff did, given the viral video, but she'd shared few details about her ongoing relationship with Jaden. "That sounds challenging," he said carefully. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Sophia shook her head. "It's something I need to handle myself, but thank you." After Marcus left, Sophia reluctantly retrieved the custody papers, forcing herself to read them more thoroughly. Jaden's legal team had constructed a compelling narrative, a young father who had made mistakes but was committed to being present in his son's life, prevented by an emotionally volatile mother who had moved across state lines. The characterization of Sophia as unstable, evidenced by her public humiliation of her fiancé and subsequent relocation, made her blood boil. It was manipulation masquerading as concern, twisting her moment of courage into evidence against her character. Her phone rang, her lawyer, Diane Winters. "I've reviewed Jaden's petition," Diane said without preamble. "It's aggressive but not unexpected given his resources. We need to meet to discuss our response strategy." "How serious is this?" Sophia asked, her voice low to avoid being overheard by passing colleagues. "Serious enough," Diane replied frankly. "He's hired Brenner and Associates. They specialize in fathers' rights cases. But we have strong counter-arguments, particularly regarding his absence during the first months of Noah's life." They scheduled a meeting for the following evening, and Sophia hung up feeling marginally more centered. Diane was formidable, a former family court judge who now represented mothers in high-conflict custody disputes. The rest of the day passed in a blur of patient consultations and administrative tasks. By the time Sophia collected Noah from the center's employee daycare, she was exhausted, but determined not to let her worries affect their evening together. Noah greeted her with his newly mastered skill, a beaming smile that revealed 2 tiny bottom teeth. As she buckled him into his car seat, Sophia felt the familiar surge of protective love that had become her foundation. "Just you and me against the world, little man," she murmured, kissing his forehead. At home, they settled into their evening routine, playtime on the colorful activity mat Benjamin had given Noah for Christmas, bath in the small infant tub, a bottle while Sophia read aloud from a book of children's poetry. These moments had become sacred to Sophia, a daily reminder of what truly mattered. After putting Noah to bed, Sophia poured herself a glass of wine and opened her laptop to compose an email to Benjamin. She'd just begun typing when her doorbell rang. Frowning, Sophia checked the time, nearly 9 p.m., too late for casual visitors. Through the peephole, she saw Jaden standing in the hallway, his expression unreadable. Her heart racing, Sophia considered ignoring him. But that would only delay the inevitable confrontation. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door, leaving the security chain engaged. "What are you doing here, Jaden?" she asked, her voice carefully controlled. "We need to talk," he replied. "About Noah. About this situation. My lawyer will contact yours. That's how this works now." Jaden sighed, running a hand through his hair, a gesture Sophia once found endearing, but now recognized as calculated to appear vulnerable. "Can we not do this through lawyers?" "5 minutes, Sophia. That's all I'm asking." Against her better judgment, Sophia unlatched the chain and opened the door. 5 minutes. Noah's asleep, and I won't have him disturbed. Jaden entered, his gaze sweeping over the apartment, taking in the framed photos of Noah, the toys scattered across the living room floor, the evidence of Sophia's new life without him. "Nice place," he commented. "Smaller than I expected." "It suits us," Sophia replied tersely. "What do you want, Jaden?" He turned to face her, his expression shifting to one Sophia recognized all too well, the earnest sincerity he employed when closing a deal. "I want us to work this out amicably. For Noah's sake." "By amicably, you mean I should agree to your demands without resistance?" "They're not demands, Sophia. They're rights. I'm his father." "A biological fact you've barely acknowledged until now," Sophia countered. "Where were you during his first 3 months? The middle of the night feedings? The pediatrician appointments?" Jaden's jaw tightened. "You moved to another state without consulting me. You've allowed me to see him exactly twice since his birth. You've given me no choice but to pursue legal action." Sophia laughed incredulously. "No choice? You had plenty of choices, Jaden. You chose to betray me with my best friend. You chose to see our child as a complication to your plans. You chose to be absent when it was inconvenient to be present. People change," Jaden insisted. "Becoming a father changed me. If you'd give me a chance—" "This isn't about chances," Sophia interrupted. "It's about Noah's well-being. He deserves better than a father who views him as a means to an end." Jaden stepped closer, his voice dropping persuasively. "What if we could start over? All of us? I've broken things off with Ariana. I realized what truly matters." The mention of Ariana sent a fresh wave of pain through Sophia. "You expect me to believe that? When she submitted an affidavit supporting your custody claim?" "That was before," Jaden said quickly. "Things have changed. I've changed." Sophia studied him, looking for any sign of genuine transformation. What she saw instead was the same calculating manipulation, perhaps more skillfully deployed, but fundamentally unchanged. "Your 5 minutes are up," she said quietly. "Please leave." "Sophia." "Now, Jaden, or I'll call security." He hesitated, then nodded stiffly. "You'll be hearing from my lawyers." At the door he paused. "For what it's worth, I really do want to be part of Noah's life. Whatever you think of me, he deserves to know his father." After he left, Sophia leaned against the closed door, her heart hammering. Jaden's unexpected appearance had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. The ease with which he had found her address, his confidence in confronting her directly, it all suggested resources and determination that unsettled her deeply. The following morning brought fresh complications. Sophia arrived at work to find Helen waiting in her office, her expression grave. "We've received a formal inquiry from the Massachusetts Children's Protection Services," Helen said without preamble, placing a letter on Sophia's desk. "Regarding Noah's welfare and your fitness as a parent." Sophia stared at the document in disbelief. "That's impossible. On what grounds?" "Anonymous concerns about emotional instability and parental alienation," Helen replied, her disgust evident. "The timing suggests it's connected to your custody dispute." "Jaden," Sophia whispered, cold fury replacing her initial shock. "He's behind this." "Most likely," Helen agreed. "It's a common tactic in high-conflict custody cases. File spurious CPS reports to create a paper trail suggesting parental unfitness." Sophia sank into her chair, momentarily overwhelmed. "What does this mean for my position here?" "Nothing," Helen assured her firmly. "The center stands behind you completely, but you should prepare for an inspection and interview. These investigations are standard procedure once a report is filed, regardless of merit." The next 2 weeks unfolded like a nightmare. The CPS investigation, while ultimately finding no evidence of concern, created exactly the kind of record Jaden's lawyers could cite in court. Sophia's apartment was inspected, her parenting scrutinized, her mental health questioned, all while she continued to perform her demanding professional duties. Diane worked tirelessly on Sophia's behalf, filing motions to dismiss Jayden's petition and gathering evidence of his minimal involvement in Noah's life. But the legal machinery ground slowly, each day bringing new stresses and uncertainties. Sophia found unexpected support from Marcus, who adjusted the surgical schedule to accommodate her court appearances and legal meetings without comment or question. His quiet solidarity, coffee left on her desk on particularly difficult mornings, offers to cover her shifts when needed, became a lifeline she hadn't known she needed. 3 weeks after Jayden's visit, Diane called with disturbing news. "They've escalated," she said grimly. "Jayden's team is requesting an emergency hearing, claiming you're planning to leave the country with Noah." "That's absurd," Sophia exclaimed. "I have no such plans." "Of course it's absurd," Diane agreed. "But the judge assigned to your case is Judge Hamilton. He's notoriously sympathetic to father's rights claims and might grant the hearing." "What does that mean for us?" "It means we need to be prepared for the possibility of a temporary custody order while the case proceeds. In the worst scenario, the judge could order Noah to reside primarily with Jayden until the final determination. The possibility of losing Noah, even temporarily, was unthinkable." Sophia felt panic rising, threatening to overwhelm the careful composure she'd maintained through each new challenge. "There has to be something we can do," she insisted. Diane hesitated. "There's one option, but it's risky. We could request that the case be moved to Rhode Island courts, arguing that Noah's primary residence is now established here. It might buy us time, but it could also antagonize Judge Hamilton if he denies the motion." "Do it," Sophia decided. "Anything that keeps Noah with me." The emergency hearing was scheduled for the following week. Sophia threw herself into preparation, working with Diane to gather evidence of her exemplary parenting and Jayden's historical disinterest in fatherhood. They compiled medical records showing Sophia's consistent care for Noah, statements from the pediatrician regarding her attentiveness, and documentation of Jayden's minimal financial support despite his considerable resources. The night before the hearing, Sophia sat in Noah's nursery, watching him sleep peacefully in his crib. The thought of him being taken from her care, placed in Jayden's apartment with its sterile luxury and absence of warmth, brought tears to her eyes. "I won't let him take you," she whispered, gently stroking Noah's cheek. "I promise." Morning came too quickly. Sophia dressed carefully in a conservative navy suit, her hair pulled back in a simple knot, every detail calculated to project stability and competence. Benjamin arrived early to care for Noah, his presence a silent affirmation of solidarity. "You'll prevail," he assured her, embracing her tightly. "Truth has to count for something in this world." The courthouse loomed imposingly as Sophia and Diane climbed the steps. Inside, they found Jayden already waiting with his legal team, 3 attorneys in expensive suits, their briefcases bulging with documents. "Intimidation tactic," Diane murmured. "Stay focused." As they waited to be called into the courtroom, Sophia noticed a familiar figure hurrying through the security checkpoint, Ariana looking uncharacteristically disheveled, her eyes scanning the hallway frantically. Sophia turned away, unable to face her former friend, but Ariana approached nonetheless, stopping several feet away. "Sophia," she said quietly, "I need to speak with you. It's important." "We have nothing to discuss," Sophia replied coldly. "It's about Jayden," Ariana insisted. "About his custody claim. You need to hear this before the hearing." Diane intervened. "Any communication should go through counsel." "There's no time," Ariana said urgently. "Please, Sophia, 5 minutes." Something in Ariana's expression, desperation mixed with genuine fear, gave Sophia pause. 5 minutes, she agreed, ignoring Diane's frown of disapproval. They stepped into an empty conference room, tension crackling between them. 15 years of friendship, destroyed by betrayal, hung in the air like a tangible presence. "Make it quick," Sophia said, arms crossed defensively. Ariana took a deep breath. "Jayden's lying. About everything. He hasn't broken things off with me. He's been living with me for the past month while pursuing this custody claim. Why should I believe anything you say?" "Because I have proof," Ariana replied, placing her phone on the table between them. Recordings of him discussing his real motives for seeking custody. It was never about being a father to Noah. Sophia stared at the phone, suspicion warring with curiosity. What was it about then? "Control," Ariana said simply. Control over you. Leverage for financial negotiations with your father's hospital contacts. He's planning to use Noah as a bargaining chip. The cold calculation was so perfectly aligned with the Jaden that Sophia had glimpsed at her almost wedding that she didn't doubt Ariana's words. Yet trust once shattered wasn't easily rebuilt. Why are you telling me this now? Sophia demanded. Why help me after everything? Ariana's composure cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Because this has gone too far. Using a child as a pawn? I can't be part of that. And because I owe you this much at least. She pushed her phone towards Sophia. The recordings are here, text messages too. Use them however you need to. Sophia looked from the phone to Ariana's face, searching for deception and finding only resignation and remorse. This doesn't change what you did, she said finally. What you both did to me. I know, Ariana whispered. I don't expect forgiveness, but Noah deserves better than to be a chess piece in Jaden's games. The mention of Noah solidified Sophia's resolve. She picked up the phone, forwarding the files to her own device. I'll need to verify these. Of course, Ariana nodded. There's one more thing you should know. Jaden filed the CPS report himself. I have proof of that too. A court officer appeared at the door. Matthew's Campbell custody hearing is about to begin. Sophia handed Ariana's phone back to her. Are you willing to testify to this? Under oath? Ariana hesitated, then squared her shoulders. Yes, it's time I did the right thing, whatever it costs me. Inside the courtroom, Judge Hamilton, a stern man in his 60s with wire-rimmed glasses, reviewed the case files with obvious impatience. Jaden sat confidently at the plaintiff's table, his attorneys arrayed beside him like expensive furniture. Before we begin, Diane announced, rising to address the court, we have new evidence pertinent to the plaintiff's motives and credibility that must be considered. Jaden's lead attorney objected immediately. Your Honor, any new evidence should have been submitted during discovery. This evidence has only just come to light, Diane countered, and directly relates to the plaintiff's fitness as a parent and the veracity of his claims. Judge Hamilton frowned. What is the nature of this evidence? Audio recordings and text messages demonstrating that Mr. Campbell's custody petition is not motivated by concern for the child's welfare, but is instead a strategic maneuver to gain leverage over Ms. Matthews and her family connections. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Jaden leaned forward, whispering urgently to his attorney. Additionally, Diane continued, we have evidence that Mr. Campbell himself filed the anonymous CPS report referenced in his petition, creating the very concerns he now cites as justification for his emergency motion. Judge Hamilton's expression darkened. These are serious allegations, Counselor. Do you have a witness who can authenticate this evidence? Yes, Your Honor, Diane confirmed. Ariana Lloyd, who is present in the courtroom and prepared to testify under oath. Sophia watched as the color drained from Jaden's face, his confident facade crumbling as he turned to locate Ariana among the spectators. Their eyes met briefly, his filled with betrayal and fury, hers with a resolve Sophia recognized all too well. In that moment, Sophia understood that whatever happened next, she had already won the most important battle. Not just the legal fight for Noah, but the deeper struggle to reclaim her sense of worth and autonomy. The woman who had stood frozen in shock reading that hotel note almost a year ago was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, wiser, and utterly determined to protect what mattered most. The court will hear this evidence, Judge Hamilton declared. His previously sympathetic demeanor toward Jaden noticeably cooled. Ms. Lloyd, please come forward to be sworn in. As Ariana moved toward the witness stand, Jaden's composure finally shattered. This is a setup, he shouted, rising from his seat. She's lying. They're working together to keep my son from me. Mr. Campbell, control yourself, the judge warned sharply. But Jaden was beyond caution now, his carefully constructed persona giving way to the entitled rage that had always lurked beneath. You don't understand what she's capable of, he continued, gesturing wildly toward Sophia. She humiliated me in front of everyone. She took my son to another state. And now she's turned Ariana against me, too. Your Honor, Jaden's lead attorney intervened, clearly alarmed by his client's outburst. We request a brief recess to confer. Denied, Judge Hamilton said flatly. Mr. Campbell's behavior speaks volumes about his temperament and judgment, qualities highly relevant to a custody determination. As the hearing proceeded, With Ariana's damning testimony and the evidence from her phone systematically dismantling Jayden's case, Sophia felt a strange sense of closure. The man she had once loved enough to marry was revealing himself completely, not in private betrayal this time, but in public self-destruction. By the time the judge delivered his ruling, dismissing Jayden's emergency petition and ordering a full psychological evaluation before any further custody proceedings, Sophia understood that this chapter of her life was finally reaching its conclusion. Not with dramatic confrontation or public humiliation, but with the simple, undeniable truth being recognized and affirmed. Outside the courthouse, as reporters clamored for statements and Jayden's legal team huddled in damage control mode, Sophia turned to Ariana one last time. "Thank you," she said simply, "for doing the right thing." Ariana nodded, her eyes filled with unspoken regret. "He won't stop, you know, not entirely. It's not in his nature to accept defeat." "I know," Sophia acknowledged, "but now I know exactly who I'm dealing with, and so does the court." As Sophia walked away toward Benjamin, who waited with Noah at home toward the life she had built from the ashes of betrayal, she felt lighter than she had in months. The road ahead would still have challenges. Co-parenting with Jayden would never be simple, but she faced it now with confidence rather than fear. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Heard the news. Celebration dinner tonight? My treat." Sophia smiled, the simple gesture of support warming her more than elaborate declarations ever could. "Rain check," she replied. "Tonight is for Noah and me." Some victories needed to be celebrated quietly, in the peaceful sanctuary of home, with the tiny person who had given her the strength to fight when fighting seemed impossible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but today Sophia Matthews had reclaimed her power, protected her child, and proven to herself that sometimes the hardest battles lead to the most meaningful triumphs. The spring air carried a hint of salt from the nearby Atlantic, as Sophia pushed Noah's stroller along the Providence waterfront. At 15 months old, he was the picture of health, active, curious, and increasingly verbal. His early arrival into the world, now just another part of his story rather than a defining feature. "Boat!" Noah exclaimed, pointing a chubby finger toward the harbor, where sailboats bobbed in the gentle breeze. "That's right, sweet boy," Sophia affirmed, pausing to let him watch the white sails catching the wind. "Those are sailboats." A year had passed since the courthouse confrontation that had finally put Jayden's custody maneuvers to rest. The aftermath had unfolded in ways Sophia could never have predicted, reshaping her life and relationships in profound and sometimes surprising ways. Judge Hamilton's ruling had been just the beginning. After dismissing Jayden's emergency petition, he had ordered a comprehensive custody evaluation, including psychological assessments for both parents. The results had been devastating for Jayden, whose narcissistic tendencies and manipulative behaviors were meticulously documented by the court-appointed psychologist. The final custody arrangement granted Sophia full legal custody and primary physical custody, with Jayden receiving limited supervised visitation, 4 hours twice monthly, at a family center in Providence. He was required to complete parenting classes and therapy before any consideration of unsupervised time with Noah. Jayden had initially threatened to appeal, employing his usual tactics of intimidation and manipulation, but the public exposure of his motives had consequences beyond the courtroom. His carefully cultivated professional reputation took a significant hit when recordings of his scheme to leverage Noah for business advantages made their way to several of his key clients. "Sophia," she turned to see Marcus jogging toward them, dressed in running gear, his face brightening at the sight of Noah. "Fancy meeting you here," he said, slowing to a walk beside them. "Saturday morning constitutional?" "Something like that," Sophia replied, smiling. "Noah's been cooped up with a cold all week. We're celebrating his return to daycare on Monday." "Marcus," Noah called, recognizing his frequent visitor. He strained against the stroller straps, arms outstretched. "Hey, little man," Marcus crouched to Noah's level. "Looking better today." He glanced up at Sophia. "Still on for dinner tonight? Helen and Priya are looking forward to it." "Wouldn't miss it," Sophia assured him. Their friendship had deepened organically over the past year, evolving from professional camaraderie to something more personal, though not yet romantic. Marcus had been there through the custody battle, offering practical support rather than empty platitudes. Now, he was simply part of their lives, a steady presence that Noah adored and Sophia increasingly relied upon. After Marcus continued his run with a promise to see them later, Sophia resumed their walk, reflecting on how dramatically her social circle had transformed. Helen Kim had become not just a mentor, but a true friend, including Sophia in family gatherings with her wife Priya and their teenage twins. The single-parent support group she'd finally joined had yielded unexpected friendships, particularly with Ella Jacobson, another nurse and single mother whose daughter was just a few months older than Noah. Her relationship with Benjamin remained her cornerstone. He had ultimately decided not to return to Boston, instead accepting a consulting position with a Providence hospital that allowed him to be close to Sophia and Noah while maintaining his professional standing. He'd purchased a small colonial house just 20 minutes from Sophia's apartment, creating a second home for Noah, filled with books, wooden toys, and the unconditional love only a grandfather could provide. Sophia's phone buzzed with a text notification. Glancing at the screen, she saw Ariana's name and felt the familiar complex mix of emotions: lingering hurt, reluctant gratitude, the ghost of friendship that could never be fully reclaimed. The Foundation approved the grant proposal. Children's Wing will break ground in October. Thought you'd want to know. After the custody hearing, Ariana had made a dramatic life change, stepping away from her marketing firm to establish a foundation supporting children of divorce and high-conflict custody situations. It was both atonement and reinvention, a genuine attempt to create something positive from the wreckage of her decisions. Sophia hesitated before replying simply, "That's wonderful news. The children deserve it." Their relationship had settled into this careful distance. Not friends, not enemies, but former intimates acknowledging each other's existence with cautious civility. Ariana had moved to New York after her testimony against Jaden had made Boston socially uncomfortable. Her affluent connections divided between those who admired her eventual courage and those who considered her disloyal for turning on Jaden. The Foundation was her attempt at redemption, though Sophia suspected it was also therapy of sorts, a way to process her own role in causing the kind of family fracture she now worked to mitigate. Sophia had agreed to serve as a medical consultant for the children's wing of the Foundation's first project, a family center designed specifically for supervised visitations and custody exchanges, but maintained emotional boundaries that Ariana respected without question. "Mama, park!" Noah's insistent voice pulled Sophia from her thoughts as they approached the playground overlooking the bay. "Yes, sweetheart. Park time now." She unbuckled him from the stroller, watching him toddle eagerly toward the small slide designed for the youngest children. His dark curls caught the sunlight, his determined little face so serious as he navigated the equipment. In these moments, Sophia saw hints of herself in Noah, her determination, her focus, rather than any reflection of Jaden, a private victory that brought her unexpected peace. Settling on a nearby bench, Sophia kept watchful eyes on Noah while allowing her mind to drift toward the coming week. Her professional life had flourished alongside the personal challenges of the past year. Helen had recently promoted her to Director of Nursing for the Cardiac Unit, a position that recognized both her clinical excellence and the leadership qualities that had emerged during her custody battle. The promotion had come with challenges: longer hours, increased responsibilities, difficult decisions about staffing and protocols. But it had also brought a deeper sense of purpose and the financial security to provide Noah with everything he needed without accepting more than the minimum required child support from Jaden. Noah's delighted laugh drew Sophia's attention back to the present as he successfully navigated the slide, landing in a heap at the bottom before scrambling up to try again. His resilience amazed her daily. This child who had entered the world early, weathered a custody battle before his first birthday, and emerged as a joyful, secure little person despite it all. The custody evaluation had raised concerns about how Jaden's inconsistent presence might affect Noah as he grew older. The psychologist had warned Sophia to prepare for questions, confusion, and possibly anger as Noah began to understand his family situation. For now, at 15 months, Noah accepted the rhythm of his life without question. Time with Mama, visits with Grandpa, occasional supervised hours with the man he knew as Daddy but didn't yet miss between encounters. Jaden had attended the court-mandated parenting classes and therapy sessions with his usual superficial compliance, going through motions without genuine engagement. His bi-monthly visits with Noah were similarly performative. He brought expensive toys, took countless photos for social media, and spoke to Noah in the same overly enthusiastic tone he used with important clients' children. What he didn't do was connect. He didn't get on the floor to play, didn't learn Noah's routines or preferences, didn't ask Sophia questions about developmental milestones or emerging personality traits. Noah was an obligation to be managed rather than a relationship to be nurtured. The court-appointed supervisor had noted this in her reports, which was likely why Jaden's petition for expanded visitation had been denied 3 months earlier. His response had been predictably self-centered: angry calls to Sophia blaming her for poisoning the supervisor against him, threats of renewed legal action, eventually devolving into missed visits when the novelty and challenge of fatherhood gave way to inconvenience. "Up, up," Noah called, arms raised toward the sky where a seagull circled overhead. "That's a seagull," Sophia explained, moving to crouch beside him. "They live by the ocean." "Gull," Noah repeated, his face serious with concentration. These simple moments had become Sophia's touchstones, ordinary interactions filled with extraordinary meaning because they represented everything she had fought to protect: the right to raise her son in peace, to shape his understanding of the world, to create a foundation of security despite the complicated circumstances of his birth. After an hour at the playground, Noah's energy finally began to wane. Sophia packed him back into the stroller, his eyes already heavy with approaching nap time. They walked slowly home to their apartment, now decorated with Noah's artwork and photographs of their expanding circle of chosen family. As she settled Noah into his crib for his nap, Sophia's thoughts turned to the evening ahead. Dinner with Marcus, Helen, and Priya had become a monthly tradition, a time for adult conversation and connection that Sophia had come to treasure. Tonight's gathering held special significance. Sophia planned to discuss a significant decision she'd been contemplating. The opportunity had arrived unexpectedly. Dr. Vivian Reeves, the neonatal specialist who had cared for Noah after his premature birth, had recently reached out with an intriguing proposal. She was establishing a specialized NICU follow-up clinic in affiliation with the Northeastern Pediatric Cardiovascular Center, focusing on the long-term care of infants with cardiac issues who had experienced premature birth. Dr. Reeves wanted Sophia to join the project as clinical director, citing her unique combination of pediatric cardiac expertise and personal experience with premature birth. The position offered increased responsibility, better compensation, and most importantly, a chance to support families navigating challenges Sophia understood intimately. It was an exciting prospect, but accepting would mean adjustments to the careful balance Sophia had established. More travel between facilities, longer hours during the clinic's establishment phase, greater professional visibility that might reignite Jaden's interest in leveraging his connection to her career. Noah stirred briefly in his crib before settling deeper into sleep, one small hand tucked beneath his cheek. Sophia watched him for a moment, drawing strength from his peaceful presence as she had so many times before. The decision about Dr. Reeves's offer exemplified Sophia's new reality, a life rich with opportunities and connections, but one requiring constant vigilance to protect what mattered most. Every choice now carried the weight of potential consequences for Noah, considerations that extended far beyond Sophia's personal preferences or professional ambitions. Later that evening, after Noah was settled with his favorite babysitter, Rachel's daughter Emily, now a nursing student herself, Sophia arrived at Helen and Priya's comfortable Victorian home in College Hill. The familiar sounds of conversation and laughter greeted her as she rang the doorbell, Marcus's distinctive chuckle rising above Helen's more measured tones. Just in time, Priya welcomed her warmly, accepting the bottle of wine Sophia had brought. "Helen's telling Marcus about the board meeting disaster, and he thinks she's exaggerating." "The one with Dr. Peterson falling asleep?" Sophia asked, following Priya to the kitchen. "Because if so, she's definitely not exaggerating. I was there." The evening unfolded with the comfortable rhythm of established friendship. Dinner on the enclosed porch overlooking Helen's meticulously maintained garden, conversation flowing easily between professional challenges and personal anecdotes. When Sophia shared Dr. Reeves's offer, she was met with immediate enthusiasm. "You'd be perfect for this," Helen declared, refilling Sophia's wine glass. Your experience with Noah gives you insights most clinicians simply don't have. The travel schedule concerns me, Sophia admitted. With Jaden still unpredictable, I worry about being less available for Noah. Marcus leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. What if you had more support? Structurally, I mean. I have Dad, and Emily's been a wonderful babysitter, Sophia replied, but they have their own commitments. I'm thinking more permanent arrangements, Marcus continued carefully. The center has been considering a daycare expansion for staff children with extended hours to accommodate medical schedules. If Helen approved accelerating that project, Helen nodded slowly. It's been in the budget for next quarter. We could prioritize it if that would make a difference for your decision. Sophia felt a rush of gratitude for these people who had become her professional family, who understood her challenges without judgment and offered solutions rather than sympathy. It would help tremendously, she acknowledged, but there's still the Jaden factor. The more visible I become professionally, the more likely he is to resurface with demands. Has he been making noises again? Helen asked, her expression darkening. She had witnessed Jaden's manipulations firsthand during the custody battle and harbored no illusions about his character. Not directly, Sophia sighed. But his child support payments have become erratic, and his last 2 visits with Noah were cancelled at the last minute. It's a pattern I recognize. He's building towards something, probably another court filing. You have excellent documentation of his visitation failures, Marcus pointed out, and the psychological evaluation was definitive. If he tries to escalate, you're in a much stronger position now. Legally, yes, Sophia agreed. Emotionally, I don't know if I have the energy to fight him again. Priya, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. When I left my first husband, my mother gave me advice I've never forgotten. She said, don't make decisions based on what your ex might do. Make them based on what you need to do for yourself and your children. Living in reaction to Jaden's potential moves gives him power he hasn't earned. The simple wisdom resonated deeply with Sophia. For too long, the shadow of Jaden's unpredictability had influenced her choices, a subtle form of control he maintained despite his diminished legal standing. You're right, she said finally. I can't plan my career or Noah's childhood around avoiding Jaden's reactions. We need to live our lives. The conversation shifted to practical considerations of the new position, but Sophia's mind kept returning to Priya's words. Making decisions from a place of strength rather than fear represented yet another evolution in her journey from the betrayed bride to the confident professional and mother she had become. Later, as dinner concluded and they moved to the living room for coffee, Marcus offered to drive Sophia home. I'm capable of calling a rideshare, she teased. I've heard they're quite reliable these days. Humor me, he replied with a smile. Besides, I have something I want to discuss with you. In the car, Marcus was uncharacteristically quiet until they were halfway to Sophia's apartment. Finally, he spoke. I've been offered a position at Boston Children's, Chief of Pediatric Cardiology. Sophia felt a complex surge of emotions. Happiness for his well-deserved advancement, dismay at the prospect of losing his daily presence in their lives, an undefined sadness that surprised her with its intensity. That's wonderful, Marcus, she managed sincerely. They'd be lucky to have you. When would you start? That's the thing, he replied, glancing briefly from the road to her face. I haven't decided whether to accept. Why not? It's an incredible opportunity. Marcus pulled into a parking space outside Sophia's building, turning to face her fully. Because it would mean leaving Providence, leaving the center, leaving you and Noah. The simple declaration hung between them, laden with unspoken meaning. Their relationship had evolved carefully over the past year, both of them conscious of Sophia's need for independence and healing after Jaden's betrayal. Marcus, Sophia began uncertainly, I don't want to be the reason you turn down your dream position. You're not the reason, he corrected gently. You're the consideration. There's a difference. His honesty disarmed her. Unlike Jaden, whose every statement had carried hidden agendas, Marcus simply spoke his truth and awaited her response. What are you saying exactly? Sophia asked, needing clarity before she could formulate her own feelings. I'm saying that my career isn't the only thing that matters to me, Marcus replied. The connection we've built, with each other, with Noah, it matters too. Enough that I'm considering alternatives to the Boston position. Such as? Helen has offered to create a joint research directorship at the center, partnered with Brown University Medical School. The position would allow me to advance professionally while remaining in Providence. Sophia absorbed this information, recognizing its implications. And if I accept Dr. Reeves's offer, then we'd be collaborating professionally as well as... He hesitated. Whatever we are personally. The careful phrasing made Sophia smile despite her uncertainty. And what are we, Marcus? Personally. He met her gaze directly. Friends, certainly. Beyond that, I think we've both been cautious about defining it. For good reasons, he added quickly. Your experience with Jaden, Noah's well-being, our professional relationship, all valid considerations. But, Sophia prompted, sensing there was more. But at some point caution becomes a barrier rather than a protection. Marcus finished quietly. I care about you, Sophia, and Noah. More than I expected to. More than feels compatible with indefinite ambiguity. The honesty between them felt both terrifying and liberating after the elaborate deceptions of her relationship with Jaden. Marcus wasn't pressuring her for an immediate response or presenting an ultimatum. He was simply acknowledging the reality of their situation, the growing connection between them that both had carefully avoided naming. I need time, Sophia said finally. Not because I don't feel the same connection, but because getting this right matters too much to rush. Marcus nodded, relief evident in his expression. Time is something I can offer. I don't need to decide about Boston for another month. As they sat in comfortable silence, Sophia found herself considering a future she hadn't dared imagine, one where her professional growth and personal happiness weren't mutually exclusive, where Noah might have a consistent male presence who valued him for himself rather than as a means to an end. The prospect was both exhilarating and frightening. Every step toward trusting again carried the risk of renewed betrayal, yet refusing to move forward meant allowing Jaden's actions to limit her life indefinitely. Noah asks for you on the days you don't visit, she said suddenly. He calls you Marcus and looks for you at the dinner table. Marcus smiled. I look for him too. And you. The simple admission carried more weight than elaborate declarations. In the year since they'd met, Marcus had demonstrated his character consistently through actions rather than words, showing up when needed, respecting boundaries, treating Noah with genuine affection rather than as a means of impressing Sophia. Let's both take that month, Sophia suggested. You to consider Boston versus Providence, me to decide about Dr. Reeves's offer. Then we can discuss what comes next, professionally and personally. Marcus reached across the center console, taking her hand in his. Agreed. The following morning dawned clear and bright. Sophia woke before Noah, using the quiet early hours to consider the conversations from the previous evening. The professional opportunity with Dr. Reeves, the potential evolution of her relationship with Marcus, the ongoing shadow of Jaden's unpredictability. For the first time, she allowed herself to envision a future not defined by reaction to betrayal, but by proactive creation of the life she wanted for herself and Noah. It wasn't about erasing the past. The pain of Jaden and Ariana's deception had shaped her in ways both difficult and valuable. Rather, it was about refusing to let that chapter dictate the rest of her story. Noah's babbling through the monitor signaled he was awake. Sophia found him standing in his crib, hair tousled from sleep, beaming when he saw her. "Mama, up!" As she lifted him into her arms, inhaling the sweet scent of baby shampoo and sleep-warm skin, Sophia felt a surge of certainty. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Jaden's potential interference, the balancing of career advancement with motherhood, the careful navigation of developing feelings for Marcus, they were surmountable with the strength she'd discovered within herself. The journey from betrayed bride to single mother had cost her dearly. The loss of 15 years of friendship with Ariana, the public humiliation of the viral wedding video, the grueling custody battle and its emotional toll, the need to rebuild her life from its foundation while caring for a premature infant. Yet standing in the sunlit nursery with Noah chattering happily in her arms, Sophia recognized that the victory she'd achieved transcended these costs. She had discovered her capacity for resilience, her unwillingness to accept deception for the sake of appearances, her ability to create a life of integrity and purpose from the ashes of betrayal. Noah patted her cheek, demanding attention. "Mama, eat now." "Yes, sweet boy," Sophia agreed, carrying him toward the kitchen. breakfast time. As they began their morning routine, Sophia's phone chimed with an email notification. Dr. Reeves confirming their meeting later that week to discuss the clinic position, the potential next chapter in Sophia's professional evolution. Outside, Providence awakened to the spring morning, a city that had been meant as temporary refuge but had become home. From her kitchen window, Sophia could see the harbor in the distance, boats preparing to sail with the rising tide. The view reminded her of a conversation with her father months earlier when the custody battle was at its most intense. "Life is like sailing, sunshine," Benjamin had told her. "You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. The storm may change your course, but it doesn't have to determine your destination." Sophia had adjusted her sails repeatedly since that fateful wedding day, finding balance in each new challenge, charting a course through unfamiliar waters, discovering strength she hadn't known she possessed. The journey hadn't been what she expected, but the destination was increasingly clear, a life defined by authenticity rather than appearance, by conscious choice rather than passive acceptance. Noah banged his spoon enthusiastically against his high-chair tray, bringing Sophia firmly back to the present moment. "Hungry?" he declared, his most recent linguistic acquisition. "Patience, little sailor," Sophia smiled, preparing his breakfast with practiced efficiency. "We have all day. We have all the time in the world." And they did. Whatever decisions lay ahead about Dr. Reeves's offer, about Marcus's place in their lives, about navigating Jaden's continued presence, Sophia would make them from a position of hard-won wisdom and strength. The betrayal that had once threatened to define her had instead revealed her core, resilient, principled, capable of rebuilding from devastation. As she settled at the table with Noah, Sophia felt a sense of peace that had been long in coming. The past could not be changed, but the future remained unwritten, and she, with Noah beside her, held the pen firmly in her own hands. 5 years later, the autumn breeze carried the scent of fallen leaves and salt water as Sophia stood at the edge of the crowd, watching 6-year-old Noah cut the ceremonial ribbon with comically oversized scissors. Camera flashes captured his gap-toothed grin as the gathered dignitaries applauded. "The Matthews Reeves Family Center is officially open," announced the mayor of Providence, beaming at Noah, who bowed with theatrical flair. Sophia couldn't help but smile at her son's confidence. Where had the tiny, premature baby gone? In his place stood this vibrant boy with curly hair and expressive eyes that missed nothing. Though his features increasingly suggested Jaden's genetic contribution, Noah's spirit remained uniquely his own, compassionate and determined, with a quiet resilience that Sophia recognized from her own journey. Dr. Vivian Reeves approached, leaning heavily on her cane. At 72, she had officially retired, but remained the guiding force behind the center's mission. "He's a natural in the spotlight," Vivian observed, watching Noah charm a local reporter. "Takes after his mother that way." Sophia laughed. "Hardly, public speaking still terrifies me." "Could have fooled me," Vivian countered. "Your testimony before the state medical board last month was masterful. That funding increase doesn't happen without your advocacy." Before Sophia could respond, Marcus appeared with their 18-month-old daughter perched on his shoulders. "Mama," Luna called, stretching tiny hands toward Sophia. "Down," Marcus obliged, carefully settling the toddler on her feet. Luna immediately toddle-ran to Sophia, wrapping herself around her mother's legs. "Successful ribbon cutting," Marcus reported, giving Sophia a quick kiss. "Noah's now entertaining the governor with detailed specifications of the playground equipment. I think we may have a future politician on our hands," Sophia laughed, lifting Luna onto her hip. "Or a future negotiator. He talked me into ice cream before dinner last night. Like mother, like son," Marcus teased. "You talked the board into an additional wing for the center." The family center represented everything Sophia had built in the 5 years since Noah's birth. Professional growth intertwined with personal healing, ambition tempered by hard-won wisdom. The project had begun as a collaboration between Dr. Reeves's NICU follow-up clinic and Sophia's expanded role as Director of Family-Centered Care at the Cardiovascular Center. It had evolved into something much more comprehensive, a facility providing medical, psychological, and social support for families navigating childhood medical crises. Noah dashed over, his ceremonial duties complete. "Mum, can I show Luna the playground? It's finally finished." "Of course," Sophia agreed, but stay where we can see you." As the children headed toward the colorful equipment, Sophia leaned into Marcus's embrace, savoring a moment of quiet accomplishment. Their journey from colleagues to friends to family had unfolded with a deliberate pace that honored Sophia's need to trust again on her own timeline. Marcus had ultimately declined the Boston position, accepting Helen's offer to establish the research directorship in Providence. Their professional collaboration had deepened alongside their personal relationship, culminating in a small, intimate wedding at Benjamin's house when Noah was 3. Luna's arrival 18 months ago had completed their family circle, a joyful surprise conceived despite the fertility challenges Sophia's doctors had predicted following Noah's difficult birth. The little girl with Marcus's dark eyes and Sophia's determined spirit had integrated seamlessly into their lives, adored by Noah, who took his big brother responsibilities very seriously. "Sophia Matthews?" The unfamiliar voice drew Sophia's attention. A woman approached hesitantly, mid-30s, professionally dressed with a tentative smile. "I'm Jessica Walsh," she introduced herself, "from the Governor's Family Policy Initiative. I was hoping to speak with you about potentially expanding this model statewide." "Of course," Sophia replied. "Let me introduce my husband, Dr. Marcus Chen. He's been integral to the project's medical protocols." As they discussed the center's development with Jessica, Sophia noticed Benjamin entering the playground area, immediately swarmed by Noah and Luna. At 69, he remained spry and engaged, dividing his time between consulting work and grandparent duties with evident joy. Their conversation with Jessica concluded with promises of future meetings, and Sophia excused herself to join her father and children. "Grandpa says we can have ice cream after the party," Noah announced triumphantly as Sophia approached. "Did he now?" Sophia raised an eyebrow at her father, who shrugged unapologetically. "Ceremonial ice cream," Benjamin clarified. "A time-honored tradition for successful ribbon cuttings." Sophia shook her head in mock exasperation. "You're incorrigible." "That's why they invented grandparents," Benjamin replied with a wink. "To undermine parental authority at every opportunity." The moment of family banter was interrupted by Sophia's phone vibrating in her pocket. Checking the screen, she felt a familiar tension at the name displayed. "Everything okay?" Benjamin asked, noting her expression. "It's Jaden," Sophia said quietly. "I should take this." Stepping away for privacy, Sophia answered the call. "Hello, Jaden." "Sophia?" His voice was strained, lacking its usual polish. "I won't be able to take Noah next weekend." Another cancelled visit, the third this year. Sophia suppressed her frustration, focusing on facts rather than emotions. "May I ask why?" "I'm relocating to London," Jaden replied abruptly. "The firm offered me a senior position heading their European division. I'm leaving next week." Sophia absorbed this information silently. Jaden's involvement in Noah's life had remained superficial, despite the court-ordered visitation schedule. After Sophia's marriage to Marcus, Jaden had briefly attempted to reassert his presence, filing for expanded visitation only to withdraw the petition when faced with the prospect of another psychological evaluation. "I see," she said finally. "And when were you planning to tell Noah?" "That's why I'm calling," Jaden admitted. "I thought perhaps you could explain it to him. He relates to you better anyway." The old Jaden, deflecting responsibility, prioritizing convenience, casting himself as the victim of circumstances rather than their architect. "Noah deserves to hear this from you," Sophia said firmly. "He's 6 years old, Jaden, old enough to remember broken promises." A long pause followed. "You're right," Jaden conceded, surprising her. "I'll come by tomorrow, if that's acceptable. Tell him properly." "We'll be home after 3, Sophia agreed, unsure whether to trust this uncharacteristic acceptance of responsibility. After ending the call, Sophia returned to her family, her expression thoughtful. "Everything all right?" Marcus asked quietly, as the children played with Benjamin. "Jaden's moving to London," Sophia explained. "He wants to see Noah tomorrow to say goodbye." Marcus's arm tightened around her shoulders. "How do you feel about that?" Sophia considered the question seriously. "Relieved, mostly," she admitted. "The inconsistency has been harder on Noah than no contact would be. This might actually be cleaner." They watched their son scale the climbing structure, fearless and focused. Noah had adapted to Jaden's sporadic presence with surprising resilience, neither rejecting nor idealizing his biological father. Sophia credited this partly to Marcus's consistent presence and partly to Noah's innate emotional intelligence. "He'll be okay," Marcus assured her. "We'll make sure of it." The remainder of the opening ceremony passed in a blur of congratulations and introductions. As the crowd thinned, Sophia found herself drawn to the quiet corner of the center, where a simple plaque had been installed away from the main dedication, in recognition of those whose difficult journeys inspire our work. The understated acknowledgement had been Sophia's private tribute to the painful experiences that had ultimately led to the center's creation. Without Jaden and Ariana's betrayal, without the custody battle that followed, without the complex path of healing, she might never have recognized the need for a place where families facing medical and personal crises could find comprehensive support. "There you are." Sophia turned to find Ariana standing a few feet away, looking unchanged, yet somehow softer than Sophia remembered. Their contact over the years had been minimal, occasional professional exchanges regarding Ariana's foundation, which had provided partial funding for the center's legal advocacy program. "Congratulations," Ariana offered. "The center is remarkable." "Thank you," Sophia replied, maintaining the polite distance that had defined their interactions since the custody hearing. "Your foundation's contribution made a significant difference." Ariana glanced at the plaque, then back at Sophia. "Is it strange that I feel proud of you? I have no right to that feeling, I know." The question caught Sophia off guard. "It's complicated," she acknowledged. "Everything between us is." "I saw Noah during the ceremony," Ariana continued. "He's grown so much. He looks happy." "He is," Sophia confirmed. "We are." An awkward silence fell between them. 15 years of friendship, 3 years of betrayal, and 5 years of careful distance creating a conversational minefield. "I'm moving back to Boston," Ariana said finally. "The foundation's expanding and I'll be overseeing the East Coast operations." Sophia nodded, uncertain how to respond. Part of her, a small, persistent part, still missed the friendship they had once shared. Another part remained wary, the wound of betrayal scarred over but not forgotten. "I don't expect us to be friends again," Ariana continued, seeming to read Sophia's thoughts. "Too much has happened. But I wanted you to know that watching you rebuild your life, create all this, it helped me find my own path forward." Before Sophia could formulate a response, Noah came running up, Luna toddling determinedly behind him. "Mom, Luna wants to see the fish pond, but I told her we had to ask you first," Noah reported, taking his sister's hand protectively. Sophia introduced the children briefly, noting Ariana's wistful expression as she greeted Noah. He responded with polite disinterest, his attention already refocused on the promised fish pond. "I should let you get back to your family," Ariana said, stepping away. "Congratulations again on the center. It will help a lot of people." As Ariana walked away, Sophia felt an unexpected sense of closure. The woman who had once been central to her life and instrumental in its painful unraveling was now simply a peripheral figure, neither friend nor enemy, but a complicated reminder of how far Sophia had traveled. "Mom, can we go see the fish now?" Noah prompted, tugging gently at her hand. "Of course, sweetheart," Sophia smiled, allowing her children to lead her toward the garden area where Marcus and Benjamin were already waiting. Later that evening, after the children were asleep and Marcus was reviewing patient files in the home office, Sophia found herself on the back deck of their harborside home. The lights of Providence twinkled across the water, reflecting like fallen stars on the dark surface. Benjamin joined her, offering a glass of wine. "Quite a day," he observed, settling into the adjacent chair. "Quite a journey," Sophia amended, accepting the glass gratefully. They sat in comfortable silence. The bond between them deepened by all they had weathered together. Benjamin had been her constant, believing in her when she couldn't believe in herself, supporting each decision without judgment, celebrating each victory, whether small or significant. "I saw you speaking with Ariana," he noted finally. "That couldn't have been easy." Sophia considered this. Surprisingly, it was easier than I expected, like encountering someone from a previous life, familiar but distant. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting," Benjamin observed, "or resuming relationships that no longer serve you." "No," Sophia agreed, "but it does mean releasing the power those relationships once held. I realize today that Ariana and Jaden no longer define any part of who I am." Benjamin nodded thoughtfully. "And who are you, sunshine? After all this?" The question deserved careful consideration. Sophia gazed out at the harbor, where she had rebuilt her life piece by careful piece. "I'm still discovering that," she answered honestly. "Mother, wife, medical director, advocate, all roles I cherish, but not the complete answer." She turned to face her father, finding in his patient expression the unconditional acceptance that had anchored her through every storm. "What I know for certain is that I'm no longer defined by what was done to me, but by what I chose to build from it." Benjamin reached over to squeeze her hand. "That's not just survival, sunshine, that's triumph." From inside the house came the sound of Luna's cry, not distressed but demanding, her "I'm awake and have thoughts about it" announcement. Sophia rose, recognizing the complicated blessing of interrupted moments and midnight comforts. "Duty calls?" she smiled, bending to kiss her father's cheek. "Always does," Benjamin agreed. "It's the interruptions that make the life." As Sophia moved through the quiet house toward her daughter's room, she passed the wall of family photographs. Noah holding newborn Luna, Marcus teaching Noah to fish, Benjamin with both children on his lap, Sophia and Marcus on their wedding day, with Noah between them. The life she had never imagined had become the one she couldn't imagine living without. Not perfect, no life ever was, but authentic and hard-won, built on principles she had discovered within herself when every external certainty had been stripped away. Luna's cries grew more insistent. Sophia entered the nursery, lifting her daughter from the crib in a practiced motion. "I'm here, little one," she murmured. "Mama's here." As Luna settled against her shoulder, Sophia rocked gently in the moonlight, filtering through the nursery windows. Beyond the glass lay Providence Harbor, the water that had carried her to this unexpected shore. The betrayal that had once threatened to define her had instead revealed her true north, the capacity to lose everything yet refuse to lose herself, to rebuild not just a life, but a purpose, to transform personal pain into communal healing. Luna's breathing deepened as she drifted back to sleep, her small body warm and trusting against Sophia's heart. In this quiet moment between one day and the next, Sophia recognized the journey's greatest gift, not just the family she had created or the work she had built, but the self she had discovered along the way, a self that could be betrayed but not broken, a heart that could be wounded but not hardened, a spirit that could transform life's bitterest disappointments into its most meaningful victories. If this story touched your heart, and you want to keep following inspiring and moving stories, be sure to check out our upcoming videos. Subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay updated on new content that can brighten your journey and provide valuable insights. Join us and keep exploring stories that truly matter. I'm sure the next video that pops up on your screen will touch you as well, so click on it now and we'll see you there.